The Crimson Empire's discovery. Supreme Commander Zara stood motionless before the massive tactical display aboard her flagship, the Crimson Destiny. Her crimson scales shimmered under the bridge's amber lighting as she processed the intelligence report that had just arrived from the Outer Rim. The bridge crew, comprised of various species from across the Crimson Empire, waited in tense silence for their commander's response. The Crimson Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 3 millennia. Their red banner flew over 10,000 star systems, and their military might was legendary. Zara herself had commanded victorious campaigns against 17 different species, bringing them under the Empire's control. No civilization had ever successfully resisted the Crimson Empire's expansion. "Confirm these readings," Zara commanded, her voice echoing through the bridge with authority that made even veteran officers straighten their postures. Commander Crix, a tall, insectoid being with compound eyes that reflected the tactical display's glow, stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, we have verified the data through multiple reconnaissance drones. The system designated as Sol contains only one inhabited world. Initial scans indicate a population of approximately 12 billion beings." Zara's elongated head tilted slightly, a gesture that among her species indicated confusion or disbelief. 12 billion. On a single world. "Correct, Supreme Commander. The species appears to be contained entirely within this one system, with only minor outposts on nearby celestial bodies. They call themselves humans, and their world is designated Earth." The Supreme Commander walked closer to the display, studying the blue and green planet that rotated slowly in the holographic projection. In her centuries of conquest, she had never encountered a species so limited. Most civilizations, the Empire had absorbed controlled dozens of star systems by the time they developed faster-than-light travel. Yet these humans appeared to be trapped in their birth system. "What is their technological classification?" Zara inquired. Chief Science Officer Vex, a being whose translucent skin revealed the complex neural networks beneath, consulted his datapad. "They appear to be in the early stages of space exploration. They have achieved nuclear fusion, basic faster-than-light communication, and primitive space vessels. However, their military technology is surprisingly advanced for their limited scope." Military strength assessment. "Minimal, Supreme Commander. Our analysts estimate their entire military force consists of fewer than 50 million individuals across all branches. They possess no interstellar warships and no experience in galactic warfare." Zara nodded slowly. The numbers were almost laughable. The Crimson Empire maintained active military personnel numbering in the hundreds of billions, supported by automated defense systems that could mobilize additional trillions of combat units. Their smallest sector fleet contained more firepower than most star systems could muster. "Recommendation?" she asked her senior staff. Commander Crix stepped forward again. "Supreme Commander, given the species' limited scope and minimal military capacity, we'd recommend deploying the 17th Expeditionary Force. 300 ships should be more than sufficient to secure their surrender and begin integration procedures." 300 ships. Zara almost seemed amused. "For 12 billion beings contained in a single system. Commander, I conquered the Vorthek Confederation with twice that number, and they controlled 47 star systems. Perhaps we should send fewer ships, Supreme Commander." Zara considered this. The Crimson Empire's standard protocol demanded overwhelming force to minimize casualties on both sides. Quick, decisive victories had always been their signature. However, deploying excessive force against such a small target seemed wasteful. "Deploy the 17th Expeditionary Force as planned," she decided. "But inform Admiral Thex that this should be concluded within one standard cycle. I want these humans integrated into the Empire before the Council's next meeting." 3 weeks later, Zara received a communication that changed everything. "Supreme Commander." Admiral Thex's voice carried an edge of uncertainty that Zara had never heard before. "We have encountered unexpected resistance." Zara activated the main communication screen. Admiral Thex appeared, his usually immaculate appearance showing signs of stress. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship showed obvious signs of recent combat damage. Report, Admiral. Supreme Commander, we arrived in the Sol system as planned and transmitted the standard surrender terms. The humans. They refused. They refused. Zara's voice carried dangerous undertones. In 3,000 years, no species had simply refused the Empire's terms. Yes, Supreme Commander. Their response was quite direct. They stated that Earth was not for sale, not for rent, and not for conquest. They advised us to leave their system immediately. Zara's claws extended slightly, a sign of growing irritation. And you explained the consequences of defying the Empire. We demonstrated our firepower by destroying one of their outer system installations. We expected immediate capitulation. Admiral Thex paused, his expression troubled. Instead, they attacked us. The Supreme Commander felt something she had not experienced in decades. Surprise. They attacked you. With what forces? Their ships are unusual, Supreme Commander. They're smaller than our vessels, but incredibly maneuverable. Their weapons technology is more advanced than our initial assessments indicated. And their tactics. Admiral Thex struggled to find words. They fight like nothing we've encountered before. Explain. They don't follow standard military doctrine. Our predictive algorithms cannot anticipate their movements because they don't conform to logical strategic patterns. They attack from impossible angles, retreat when they should advance, and advance when retreat would be logical. It's as if each ship operates independently while somehow maintaining perfect coordination. Zara studied the Admiral's face carefully. Thex was a veteran of dozens of campaigns, known for his steady nerves and tactical brilliance. Seeing him this unsettled was deeply concerning. Casualties? She asked. We've lost 47 ships, Supreme Commander. The humans have lost perhaps a dozen. Silence fell over Zara's bridge. 47 Imperial ships destroyed by a species that supposedly had no interstellar warfare experience. The mathematics made no sense. How many human ships are you facing? Our estimates suggest fewer than 200 vessels in total, Supreme Commander. But they're achieving casualty ratios that should be impossible. Zara's mind raced through the implications. The 17th Expeditionary Force consisted of 300 of the Empire's finest ships, crewed by experienced warriors, and equipped with weapons that had conquered countless worlds. Yet they were being systematically outfought by a force smaller than themselves, composed of beings who had never left their birth system. Admiral, I'm dispatching the 5th and 12th battle groups to reinforce your position. Hold your current location and await support. Understood, Supreme Commander. However, I must advise that the humans have sent us a message. What message? Admiral Thex's expression grew even more troubled. They stated that our reinforcements are welcome to come. They said Earth has been waiting a long time to show the galaxy what humans can do when threatened. After ending the communication, Zara stood in contemplative silence. Her senior staff waited nervously, unused to seeing their commander display uncertainty. Chief Science Officer Vex, she finally spoke. Compile all available data on human psychology, sociology, and military history. I want to understand what we're facing. Supreme Commander, surely the reinforcements will be sufficient to... No, Zara interrupted. Something is wrong here. A species doesn't develop combat capabilities that exceed our models by accident. There's something about these humans we're not seeing. Over the following days, as the 5th and 12th battle groups traveled toward Sol, reports continued to arrive that defied explanation. Human ships were operating in ways that violated established principles of space combat. They used gravity wells as weapons, turned asteroid fields into minefields, and somehow managed to be in 3 places at once during battles. More disturbing were the psychological profiles Vex had compiled. Humans, it seemed, possessed an unusual trait. They became more dangerous when threatened. Unlike most species, which became cautious when facing superior foes, humans appeared to become more aggressive and creative. Supreme Commander, Vex reported, "Human military history is filled with examples of smaller forces defeating larger ones through tactics that would be considered impossible or suicidal by our standards. They have a concept they call thinking outside the box that appears to be fundamental to their nature. Meaning, they don't accept that situations are impossible. When faced with overwhelming odds, instead of surrendering or retreating, they look for solutions that others wouldn't consider." Zara studied the data streaming in from the Sol system. Human ships were now actively hunting Imperial forces, using tactics that seemed to blend technology with pure creativity. They had turned their entire star system into a weapon, using everything from solar radiation to planetary gravity to their advantage. Supreme Commander Crix approached carefully. "Perhaps we should consider negotiating with the humans. Their resistance is proving more costly than anticipated." Zara's eyes flashed dangerously. The Crimson Empire does not negotiate with species that refuse integration. We conquer or we eliminate. But even as she spoke those words, a part of her wondered if humanity had already changed the rules of the game. The Dreadnought's arrival. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's first and only Dreadnought-class vessel. The ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, representing the culmination of humanity's technological advancement and their desperate need to survive in a hostile galaxy. Unlike the sleek, aesthetically pleasing designs favored by most galactic civilizations, the Defiance looked exactly like what it was: a weapon built for war. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson from the tactical station, "we're receiving final updates from Earth Command. The Crimson Empire has committed nearly 2,000 ships to the Sol system." Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the main display showing the massive alien fleet surrounding her home system. 3 months of fighting had proven one thing: humanity could match any alien species ship for ship, but they couldn't match their numbers. Earth's total space fleet numbered fewer than 300 vessels, while the Crimson Empire seemed to have an endless supply of reinforcements. "Status of the Sol defense grid?" she asked. "Holding, but barely. Admiral Rodriguez estimates we can maintain current defensive positions for another 2 weeks before the aliens break through to Earth." Sarah had volunteered for this mission, knowing it was likely suicide. The Defiance was humanity's secret weapon, built in the asteroid belt using technology reverse-engineered from captured alien vessels and enhanced with human innovation. The plan was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. Take the fight directly to the Crimson Empire's home territory. Navigation. Set course for the Crimson Sector. Maximum speed. Captain, her first officer, Commander Williams, approached quietly. "The odds of returning from this mission." "I know the odds, Commander. But sometimes the right thing to do isn't about the odds." Sarah turned to address her crew. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to enter Crimson Empire space with one ship against an entire civilization. I won't lie to you about our chances, but I will tell you this: every human who has ever lived, everyone we've ever loved, and everyone who will come after us is depending on what we do next." The Defiance engaged its quantum drive, disappearing from Sol space in a flash of blue light. 12 hours later, Supreme Commander Zora received a report that would haunt her for the rest of her life. "Supreme Commander," her communications officer announced with barely controlled panic, "we have an emergency transmission from Crimson Prime." Zora activated the main screen, expecting to see one of the planetary governors. Instead, she found herself looking at Sector Admiral Morgax, the Empire's highest-ranking military officer, speaking from what appeared to be a damaged command center. "Supreme Commander, we are under attack." "Under attack? By whom?" "A single human vessel has entered our space. It has destroyed 17 defensive platforms and is currently engaging the home fleet." Zara felt the universe shift around her. "One ship?" "Affirmative. The vessel appears to be significantly larger than the human ships we've encountered in Sol. It's using weapons and tactics we've never seen before." "How many ships are you deploying against it?" "The entire home fleet, Supreme Commander." 400 ships. And the result? Admiral Morgax's expression grew haunted. They're destroying us, Supreme Commander. We've lost 96 ships in the past hour. The human vessel has taken minimal damage. Zara's mind struggled to process this information. One human ship was defeating the Empire's home fleet, the most powerful naval force in known space. It was impossible. Show me the tactical display. The screen shifted to show the battle raging around Crimson Prime. Zara watched in horror as a massive human vessel moved through Imperial formations like a predator among prey. The ship's movements defied physics as she understood them. It seemed to anticipate every Imperial tactic, counter every strategy, and turn every advantage against itself. "How are they doing this?" she whispered. Her chief science officer Vex approached with datapad in hand. "Supreme Commander, we've been analyzing the human vessel's movements. It appears to be using predictive algorithms far beyond anything we've developed. But more than that, it's being commanded with an understanding of warfare that exceeds our models." "Explain." "The human captain isn't just fighting our ships, Supreme Commander. They're fighting our entire tactical philosophy. Every move they make forces us to respond in ways that benefit them. It's as if they understand how we think better than we do." On the screen, the human dreadnought had positioned itself near Crimson Prime's primary moon, using the gravitational field to slingshot around the planet while firing on 3 different Imperial formations simultaneously. Zara watched as her Empire's finest ships felt like ancient trees before a storm. "They're heading for the Imperial Palace," Admiral Morgax reported. "Evacuate the government district," Zara ordered. "All civilians to emergency shelters." "Supreme Commander, the human vessel is transmitting a message." "Put it through." The tactical display was replaced by the image of a human female wearing a uniform Zara didn't recognize. The woman appeared calm, almost serene, despite having just fought her way through the Empire's most heavily defended system. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force Vessel Defiance," the human said. "I'm transmitting this message to all Crimson Empire channels. Your forces have invaded our home system and threatened our people. You have discovered that humans do not surrender, do not retreat, and do not forgive threats to our families." Zara found herself leaning forward, captivated by the quiet intensity in the human's voice. "For 3 months, you have sent wave after wave of ships against Earth, believing that your numbers would eventually overwhelm us. You were wrong. We don't just fight with ships and weapons. We fight with ideas, with creativity, and with the absolute refusal to accept defeat." The human captain paused, and when she continued, her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "I have traveled to your home system with 1 ship to demonstrate something important. Humanity doesn't need vast fleets to protect itself. We need only the will to do what others consider impossible. This single vessel has defeated your home fleet not through superior firepower, but through superior thinking." Zara's claws extended involuntarily as the implications became clear. "I am now going to leave your system," Captain Chen continued. "Your home fleet will not pursue me because you no longer have a home fleet. Consider this a lesson about the cost of threatening Earth. Withdraw your forces from Sol immediately, or I will return with more ships and more ideas. You have 1 standard day to begin your withdrawal. If you choose to continue this war, remember that you will not be fighting just our military. You will be fighting human imagination, human determination, and human refusal to accept that any problem cannot be solved." The transmission ended, leaving Zara staring at a blank screen while alarms continued to sound throughout her flagship. "Supreme Commander," Admiral Morgax's voice returned to the channel. "The human vessel has jumped to hyperspace. Our pursuit ships report they cannot match its speed or track its destination." Zara slowly sat in her command chair, her mind racing through everything that had just occurred. 1 human ship had penetrated the Empire's most defended system, destroyed its most powerful fleet, and delivered a message that would echo throughout the galaxy. "Commander Crix," she said quietly. "Yes, Supreme Commander." "Send a message to Admiral Thex. Begin immediate withdrawal from the Sol system. Supreme Commander, shortly we cannot surrender to. We're not surrendering, Zara interrupted. We're acknowledging that we've encountered something we don't understand. These humans, they don't fight wars the way everyone else does. They don't follow the rules everyone else follows. She stood and walked to the main display, which now showed reports flooding in from across the Empire. News of the home fleet's destruction was spreading, and with it, questions about the Empire's invincibility. Chief Science Officer Vex, I want a complete analysis of human military philosophy, psychology, and technological development. I want to understand what makes them different. Supreme Commander, what are your intentions regarding Earth? Zara considered the question carefully. The Crimson Empire had built its reputation on the inevitability of its conquests. No species had ever successfully resisted integration. But these humans had done more than resist. They had demonstrated that the Empire's entire approach to warfare might be fundamentally flawed. We're going to leave them alone, she decided, and we're going to learn from them. Supreme Commander, these humans have shown us something important, Vex. They've shown us that the way we think about problems limits the solutions we can find. If one human ship can defeat our home fleet, what could we accomplish if we learned to think like humans? As the Defiance jumped back toward Earth, carrying with it the proof that humanity could defend itself against any threat, Zara began to understand that the galaxy had just changed forever. The humans hadn't just won a battle, they had introduced a new way of thinking about warfare, about problems, and about what was possible. And for the first time in her career, Supreme Commander Zara of the Crimson Empire began to wonder what other impossible things humans might accomplish.